I served as the president of this association. I'm the immediate past president. So I served in 2014 and 2015. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that I've been around this association since a young police officer. 36 years ago, my father was a police chief. My father actually became the president of this association in 1980, and I've always looked up to the association as an association that I really wanted to be a part of. I've been extremely grateful that I've had the opportunity to serve this association as its president, and I really think that the association is light years ahead of other states.
The Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, founded in 1941, has been a force for the public good for 75 years, elevating the entire police profession in Illinois and making our communities safer. In the 1950s, a major topic at association meetings was the need for a permanent training school for law enforcement officers. We connected with two professors at the University of Illinois, and in 1956, the Police Training Institute opened at the University of Illinois. The Illinois Chiefs are proud of their role in helping to establish this institute, which has prepared thousands of men and women to be police officers in the past 60 years.
When I first came into law enforcement in 1958, I came into the office. They gave me 2 hours of training on the switchboard, gave me my uniform and my gun, and told me to come back at midnight and somebody would teach me to become a police officer. And then if I made probation, they would send me to school. And school at that time was just 1 week at the University of Illinois in the month of July, because they didn't have housing. This was before PTI was as sophisticated as it has become since that time. So I've had an interest in that. I just thought that when you came in and there was nothing about use of force or use of firearms or anything of that sort, or how to even write reports or whatever to do. And the Illinois Chiefs played a major role in getting the Police Training Institute going. And then they also had a major role in developing us as police chiefs by providing us with training, education, and seminars that added to our skills and our knowledge and to our abilities.
Over the past 6 decades, the ongoing professional development of chiefs has been the #1 accomplishment of the association. Along with this has been our effectiveness in elevating the entire law enforcement professional in Illinois. Here are our top 5 accomplishments. 1, professional development. 2, legislative advocacy and policymaking. 3, Special Olympics is our charity of choice. 4, traffic safety. 5, leadership in the International Association of Chiefs of Police. The Illinois Chiefs have been diligent about offering training on every major topic facing law enforcement in recent decades. In the 1960s, we pushed for mandatory basic training of all new police officers, and we formally endorsed formal education in the state's universities and community colleges.
The association has always stressed professional development. Stressing to our members that one's professional development should never end. It's a continuous process. And in that regard, the association can pride itself in the training conference that it would deliver. Some years ago, it was two training conferences a year. Now it's an annual training conference with top-notch speakers, people like Gordon Graham and Jack Enter, and people that are known throughout the United States in law enforcement circles. And our police chief certification program, which is one more step towards professionalism, some kind of standardization of what one should achieve to be a successful police chief, and that's going very, very well. And none the least of which is the police department accreditation, ILEAP. It's going very successfully, kind of piggybacking somewhat with CALEA and the national accreditation, but we've stressed professional development, and I think we should be proud of what we've accomplished, but much more to do.
Our second major accomplishment is our persistent advocacy of sound public policies and legislation benefiting law enforcement, citizens, and our communities. Under the leadership of influential advocates such as Paul Dollins, Laimi Nargelinas, Pat O'Connor, and others, we have been strong advocates of legislation to make our communities and citizens safer. We were early adopters of mandatory seatbelt legislation, for example, when that was still not popular with the general public. We have many friends in the state capitol and have been identifying our own public officials of the year since 1995, with equal attention given to legislators on both sides of the aisle and to constitutional officers. We have appreciated the support and respect of such leaders as former Attorney General Jim Ryan, current Attorney General Lisa Madigan, and all the governors from Stratton through Rauner. From mandatory training 50 years ago to drones and cultural competency today, we remain on the leading edge of every public policy issue related to law enforcement.
I really think our legislative efforts, until I got involved in serving on the board, I didn't realize just how important our roles are and being an advocate for our communities and our profession. And we spent an awful lot of time working with legislators on both sides of the aisle in regards to pending legislation. And quite frankly, if we were not involved, we would have no voice at all. And I don't think really the general public and even our own membership understands just the importance of being extremely involved.
Our third major accomplishment is the extraordinary relationship we have developed with Special Olympics since 1986. The Illinois Law Enforcement Torch Run raises money and awareness for athletes with intellectual disabilities. The first torch run brought in $14,039. Then, with the invigorating leadership of Chiefs Darrell Sanders, Joe Pena, and Tom Reasoner, that grew to $1 million in 2002. And in the past 2 years, 2015 and 2016, Illinois law enforcement raised more than $4 million each year for Special Olympics, making us number 2 in the world. Torch Run events have gotten more creative over the years, with officers all over the state participating in the polar plunge, tip a cop on a rooftop, and more recently, the plane pole.
I was at the state summer games in Bloomington, and I was at the powerlifting event. And the athletes were coming up in the different divisions, and this one young gentleman gets on the gold medal stand in the center, but he didn't realize what the positions meant. And we go through the bronze, silver, and make it up to the gold, and he's standing there hopping on the stand with his fingers crossed. And as I'm walking up to him, they announce his name as the gold medal winner. And he literally jumped off of the podium into my arms and starts hugging and kissing me before I could even put the medal around his neck. That's what these athletes want. They want to be treated like everybody else. They want an opportunity to compete with their peers and enjoy life. And, you know, they're there, all they want from us is a hug and a kiss. It's just the most phenomenal thing I've ever been involved with, hands down.
The fourth major accomplishment is our role in promoting traffic safety and creating the Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge, and more recently, Illinois Rail Safety Week. Police officers know better than anyone that enforcement of speed limits, seat belts, driving under the influence, and distracted driving laws literally saves lives. The numbers back it up.
I've been very passionate in traffic and highway safety my entire career, and the work that the Illinois Chiefs Association has done in the area of traffic safety, I think, is just second to none to any of the other associations. Almost 20 years ago, we started the program, the Traffic Safety Challenge. We were supported with grant funds from Illinois Department of Transportation with NHTSA Highway Safety Funds, and of the nearly 20 or 25 similar programs across the nation, I think none of them can hold a candle to the Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge. We recognize our agencies in the state for what they're doing to get drunk drivers off the road, to get people to buckle up, to put their kids in child seats, to slow down, to do enforcement, to do public education, to do training programs of their officers. And the reality is, over the last 20 years, Illinois has seen an incredible reduction in highway safety deaths. Just a few years ago was the first time Illinois was below 1,000 traffic deaths since 1924. I think that's an incredible number, and I think that has a lot to do with our program and how we, as the Illinois Chiefs Association, get the law enforcement agencies in our state together to work on programs like this.
Chief Cass-Stevens provides the perfect segue to our fifth major accomplishment, which is our leadership in the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the world's strongest voice for law enforcement. 7 Illinois chiefs have been president of the International Association, one in each decade since the 1940s. And Cass-Stevens, currently the International's 4th vice president, will become the international president in 2019. When Chief Darrell Sanders of Frankfort was sworn in as international president in Phoenix, Illinois Governor Jim Edgar made the trip to lead the swearing-in. And George Kirchie, our abundantly productive executive director from 1990 to 2003, was very active in the International Association as well. The foundation for all of this activity was laid in 1941, when 7 visionary police chiefs got a charter to create the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police under the leadership of our first 2 presidents, Lawrence J. Benson, 1941, and T.P. Sullivan, 1942 to 49. The primary early driver of the association was the legendary Jacob J. Novak, who assumed the role of Secretary-Treasurer in 1942 and stayed active in that role for 31 years. Jake Novak put his heart and soul into the association's work. He really cared about the members and the association's efforts to promote professional service. Since our founding, we have had 68 presidents and 9 full-time executive leaders, first called the Secretary-Treasurer and now the Executive Director. We also have had several headquarters, including the homes of Jacob Novak in North Chicago, Bud Heinen in LaGrange, and the basement of Don Durning's house in Winnetka. Headquarters has been in Springfield since 1990. The chiefs now own their own building, catty corner from the governor's mansion, and just 3 blocks from the state capitol. The foundations of effective leadership and a clear mission have allowed the association to shed a positive light on the profession in a variety of ways. Every decade has provided unique challenges to the profession. In the 1990s, we emphasized community policing and honored many local departments for their successes in community policing. 15 years ago, in 2001, we adopted a resolution condemning bias-based policing. And in the past 2 years, we have had regular conversations with the Illinois NAACP in order to build stronger relationships with the African American community. NAACP Illinois President Teresa Haley posed last year for a selfie for support photo to show her personal support for law enforcement. NAACP leaders have been presenters at our last 2 expos and our most recent annual conference. We also have decades of partnerships with the private sector. We used to have annual meetings called Interaction, where almost 300 people from the private sector and law enforcement would gather to talk about working together to battle crime in our communities. We are rekindling this necessary alliance with the private sector, and we've created a new annual award to honor an outstanding security professional. And with mental illness becoming a bigger social problem, and the wellness of sworn officers finally getting the attention it deserves, our Psychological Services Committee is doing more and more to integrate the expertise of mental health professionals with law enforcement. Throughout our history, chiefs have built enduring friendships with one another and with many partners in public safety. Along with our work in elevating the profession for the past 75 years, it is these relationships that have meant the most to our members and to the communities we serve.
I was a very young police chief, and I remember it was one of our presidents, Carl Dobbs, called me up one day and asked me if I'd be interested in sitting on the governing body. He had observed me being involved at some of the committees, that I was interacting with other people. I was trying to pick people's brain, learn, because I was a young police chief. I think I was 34 years old at the time, and asked me, if I'd be on the governing body of the association. And to his credit, he saw something in me I didn't realize was there, and he nurtured me or mentored me and asked me to be part of the association. That was a start. That's if Carl hadn't asked me to participate, I don't know where it would have gone. But that was the beginning, and eventually getting involved. Staying on the executive committee of the association, and eventually serving as president, and then the other. But it's because of people around me who helped me grow as a leader, as a man. The many different classes I went to at the association, the example that other chiefs gave for me as not only police chiefs, but as men.
Part of my current joy is when I see the learning moment, when I've been able to help somebody, either a police chief or maybe even sometimes a citizen, and just explaining about what we're all about, and we're there to help and to serve. And there's something about it, it's kind of hard to explain how you feel. I don't know if there's an adjective that describes it, but when somebody says, "Don't worry, thank God, the police are here,"